Welcome into a brand new episode of WSI TV. Enjoy the show.
Welcome into a brand new episode of WSI TV. I'm Sean Bauer. With me, as always, is Jordan Bishop. We're about to cover a couple of really hot topics from last week. We're going to end up with your payout from net neutrality. It's probably a term you heard last week. Don't worry, we're going to explain everything for you. But first, Jordan, we want to debut a brand new section we're going to be bringing to you here at WSI TV.
That's exactly right. And as Sean said, we're going to get to net neutrality. But first, let's take a step back and go back to the basics here. This is going to be a new section we're introducing that we're going to do at the beginning of pretty much every episode. Yeah. Just to, bring up our less experienced viewers into the same sort of mindset that we're in and that maybe some of you other guys are. But also to sort of reset anyone's mindset about the basics of trading and investing that may, have it a little bit wrong and may not understand, how we're talking about it at least.
Yeah, and we want to kick things off in this back to the basics section here with talking about trading versus investing, and more specifically how we look at what trading is versus investing. This is just a common question we get from beginners. How do I know if I'm trading or investing? What's the difference? Well, as you can see on your screen right here, we consider trading whenever you hold a position for 6 months or less. So this is short term. If you're trading, you're in and out of stuff within these several months here. Investing is obviously anything longer than that.
Right, and you can absolutely do both of these things, combine them how you want. When we're talking about your portfolio as a whole, maybe your retirement portfolio, of course we're looking at investing, but there might be some trades in there, at least hopefully by the time we're done with teaching you about all these basics. There might be some trades in there that last, maybe a week, maybe two, maybe 6 months almost, So again, you don't have to stick to one. It maybe is a good idea at first to find out what type of like trader or investor you are, right. But again, these can be combined and you don't have to adhere to just one of these.
Yeah, I mean, you likely will have a solid collection of both. But again, like Jordan said, are you a trader? Are you an investor? It's going to come down to your personality, your characteristics, as you handle your money and your risk-reward tolerance and things like that. But yeah, I mean, I think any really solid portfolio will have a mixture of long-term investments where you're holding on to a Disney or something like that for several years, and then a bunch of trades in between where you're just making that quick money, especially with the systems we're going to show you. But one thing I know you wanted to know is we don't want to let the tax consequences determine any of this for us.
Right, yeah, so if you hold a position for longer than a year, you get a bit of a tax break. If you hold it for less than a year, you pay your regular income tax bracket. So I wouldn't let that play in. If it's a good trade or if it's a good investment, that's what it is. You don't want to let the tax man get in your head, get in your way. You're also not allowed to sell a position before the end of the year and then get back in it until 30 days after, which you could have lost out on a lot of profit. Yeah. But back to just the risk-reward side of this, when you're trading, when you're getting in and out of things quicker, you might be susceptible to more risk. But of course, as we've seen, the rewards are higher and quicker, where investing is sort of the opposite of that.
Yeah, but again, I mean, I guess the overall point I want to make here is that you can and probably should be doing both trading and investing. Again, with all of the different systems and strategies we'll be teaching you here at WSI TV, you're going to be able to do both of these very, very easily. But I think that basically wraps up our first ever installment of this Back to the Basics. So again, like Jordan said, you can expect this in pretty much most episodes we bring to you here on out. And for any of you more experienced traders and investors, this is just a really solid review for you, I think, as we cover the different topics of the basics of trading.
Right, and of course we'll weave in and out of different varying levels of knowledge on Wall Street and the stock market. But feel free to write questions in. We encourage you to type questions in, in the comments bar down below. What do you want us to talk about? What do you want us to explain? We've been doing this for a long time now. It's very easy for us to skip over certain terms and just assume that people know what we're talking about.
Right.
But we're going to cut it back and basically get you hopefully up to the level we are so you can make some serious money out the stock market.
Yeah, absolutely. But with that behind us, I think it is now time to move on to a huge term that we heard a lot last week, net neutrality. And I think we just want to kick things off by explaining this a little bit. I know a lot of people don't know exactly what we're talking about here, but this is, again, all to do with the internet and what's fair, what's regulated on the internet. Just a couple of years ago in 2015, net neutrality rules were put in place. And this is basically saying all internet service providers have to treat content equally online. And just by these internet service providers, we're talking about, you know, the Comcast, the Verizons of the world.
Right, and you know, this rule was set in place again, as Sean said, in 2015. It is under pressure right now, you know, or over the next several months, I should say, because the FCC has decided to repeal net neutrality, which isn't good for, I mean, you know, isn't really good for innovation and really these small businesses that might be coming up.
Right.
And as you'll see, it does affect the bigger businesses, which is going to play into our sister, how we're working this here for your money. But basically, the FCC repealed this. It was a 3-2 vote, so 3 in favor of repealing, 2 against it. So yeah, I mean, big news coming out of the media industry today.
Yeah, I mean, and now this, I guess if this does completely pass through, and again, it could take a couple of months here, there could be Congress tying things up with maybe some new legislation that could, I guess, determine how this thing ends up. If everything goes as it looks right now with net neutrality being repealed, this is going to give those internet service providers the ability to maybe charge you more for certain websites, to slow down the speeds that these things are streaming, like a Netflix or something as we're about to get to. They could absolutely make that harder for you to get. It could block it entirely, could charge more for it, that sort of thing. So you can see why so many people are outraged about this. And that really brings us to how you could get your net neutrality payout, and it really comes down to 2 major stocks here with Netflix and Disney.
Exactly, and you know, you may have seen these 2 stocks, these 2 companies thrown about the news lately. Obviously, you know both of them very well. What you might not know is that Disney has just agreed, I think it was a $53 billion deal to buy Fox, 21st Century Fox. That ticker is FOX. We don't have it on the screen right now. We don't necessarily need to worry about that. But basically, the way net neutrality affects these 2 companies is it all lies in the power they have with the certain cable providers. Yeah,
I mean, as content providers here, I think this was my first thought whenever I heard all this stuff going on with net neutrality. These content providers could get hurt the most. They could get hit the hardest from these new regulations with net neutrality. Again, because they will be now at the mercy of these internet service providers, where they could charge more to say, hey, Netflix, if you still want to get, you know, our fastest quality, you still want to be in our fast lane, as that term is getting brought about more, then you need to pay us some more to make sure that that happens, so we still provide Netflix to all of our Comcast customers. Those costs can build up very, very quickly for a Netflix or even a Disney. When that happens, whether they pass on those costs to the customer and raise the price, or however it could be, this could take a huge chunk out of a Netflix stock. What I'm really looking at here for, Jordan, is to see whether Netflix can hang on above that 150-day moving average. You can see that on a chart, and that's something we'll explain in a new basics section for sure. If this starts to dip below that 150-day moving average, I think it's in trouble, and that's whenever I would look to be buying a put option contract on a Netflix here, to make some quick, easy leveraged money. Right, and there's a specific reason we're picking on Netflix here, because again, as we mentioned, Disney is buying Fox. You know, think about how many channels on your TV Fox owns, the deals they already have in place with these cable providers. You know, and I know Rupert Murdoch's son is going to be is slated to be a high executive at Disney once the deal goes through, and he might be looking for that CEO spot when Bob Iger sets down in 2019. So that Fox connection there with Disney, I think, really does them justice, because, you know, Fox, these cable providers, Netflix is sort of the enemy of these cable providers, and even though Disney is looking to create their own streaming service, they do have their ties, and as we know, with everything, it's all about who you know, and I think that's why we're picking on Netflix here. Yeah, I mean, we were just discussing this earlier on today. I mean, this, all things equal, I think, with no net neutrality a part of this at all, Netflix, I think you would give a huge upper hand to over Disney when it comes to stuff like the streaming. Netflix is obviously already in so many households and such a brand name in that regard. But again, with net neutrality now being repealed, it could come down to the fact that Disney just gets better deals from these internet service providers. If they're able to finagle that, they could just have such a lower cost, able to provide a lower price point for their streaming services, something that could really get them back in the game and possibly surpassing a Netflix on that front.
Right, so interesting one to look out for there. Again, if this all does go through as planned, and Disney's Fox's ties, I guess, with the cable providers does give them the upper hand. You want to see, from a technical standpoint, Netflix dropping below that 150-day moving average, and that's when I would also make my move, Sean. And we say put option here. We're going to go over all these basic terms. You're basically buying an options contract, but betting that the stock goes down. So.
Yeah, with a put. If you buy the put, you make money when the stock price goes down, like Jordan just said. That's, I think, how we're going to make our big net neutrality payout here. But as we sort of wrap things up here, I know you do have a final note for us this time, Jordan.
Yeah, that is true. I'm going to brag here a little bit, and I don't think Sean's going to like it. Last week, we did our versus picks. We both picked cryptocurrency-related stocks. Sean had NVIDIA, right, which is a great stock, you know, and it's still moving along nicely. It still looks great on the chart. I picked Overstock.com. It bounced up 35%. Yeah. So here's me hoping that it can stay up that high. You know, but I'm really looking forward to Sean getting his first punishment in a little while. He's been on form lately. You know, but I think I don't want to speak too soon. Again, we announce the results next week. I think this one's mine for the taking.
Yeah, I mean, it looks great right now, and I have mixed feelings about this one because obviously I don't want to lose, especially to this guy, because he's a terrible bragger about it. But also, I'm a little bit excited because I'll be the first one to spin our brand new Wheel of Misfortune. We're happy to give you a little sneak peek here. This is something, if everything goes as it looks like it's going, I'll be spinning this for the first time next week. And we'll see what punishment I get. I know we have some of our favorites on there. Yeah. We have added Silly String. I know you just saw that live episode on Friday. If we get the Silly String one, we'll be ready for that. But yeah, I guess we're ready for the Wheel of Misfortune then. Yeah, definitely. Finally got a physical wheel. So, yeah, long time coming. So yeah, moving forward, I just wanted to note as well for you AWS attendees, we did mention about the Fed rate being raised and all that, and we had a little game. We told you, maybe if you place a little bet on Nugget, it might work out well for you. And I mean, Sean, what were the results of that? Yeah, so the same day for Nugget that we got basically the rate hike announcement, the Nugget did jump 10%, a little more than that. Just the stock price alone, as Jim explained later on the Sunday for you attendees, a call option on that 10% gainer is something that could have made you something like 200 times your money. So I'm sure a lot of you are very, very excited about that. Yeah, so enough bragging for now, I guess. We'll see you guys all next week. We'll have a special holiday episode we'll bring to you. Yeah. We'll get a little themed with it, and we'll of course see what Sean's punishment will be when my stock, races on even higher and I beat his NVIDIA. Yep. Well, on behalf of Jordan and I, we want to say thank you again for watching, and we'll speak to you next time. Cheers.
Thanks for watching the latest episode of WSI TV. Be sure to visit WSITV.com, where you can subscribe for free with no contract and gain instant access to the secrets of self-made millionaires via the WSI TV Vault. So go ahead and claim this gift for free now at WSITV.com.